A rat scurries beneath a wooden slat, its tail wet with morning dew, a silver thread weaving through the filth. The lane is slick, painted in the sheen of last night's excrement, catching the first shy light like a thing alive. The air bites, not with cold, but with the sour breath of the city's bowels. Somewhere, beyond the roofs, a bell tolls, not for prayer, not for mourning, but for labor, a single solemn gong, and the night soil men emerge. They come not in glory, but in shadow. Wrapped in burlap, faces swaddled in damp cloth, they move like ghosts in a world that refuses to name them. Their boots suck into the mud, every step a surrender. They carry wooden buckets and iron hooks, tools of a trade that no guild will honor, no child dreams to inherit. And yet they come. Among them walks Mathieu, gaunt, with a back curved not by age, but by years of stooping through privy tunnels and chamber pots. His eyes are hollow, not vacant, but echoing. Eyes that have seen too much, and spoken too little. His silence is not ignorance, but endurance. He speaks only to the dogs, mangy loyal creatures that follow him like shadows with tails. He feeds them scraps from under his tunic, his cracked hands stroking fur without judgment. The dogs do not gag at his smell. They do not flinch from his touch. To them, he is master. To the city, he is something less than a shadow. The cesspits moan beneath the cobbled stones. Stone chutes, hidden behind velvet drapes and carved wood panels, funnel noble waste down into the earth, where Mathieu waits. Above, a feast, below, the rot. The illusion of cleanliness floats above the stink like perfume over sweat. There is a rhythm to his work, a slow ballet of shovel and hook, bucket and dump. The lye burns his hands, the lime clogs his breath, but he treats the labor with reverence. Each motion, a ritual, each load, a piece of the fragile balance that keeps the city upright. He does not complain, he listens. In the drip of effluence and the slosh of sludge, he hears something others do not. A sob maybe, a girl's voice humming a lullaby long forgotten, the clink of coins in a stolen purse. Echoes, too clear for memory, too strange for truth. Is it madness, or is the waste a mirror, reflecting all that the world hides above? He remembers once, long ago, kneeling in a stream, clean and young before his father's cough turned wet and red. Before they lost the farm, before hunger sent him to the city, where no one knew his name. He remembers the first bucket, the weight of it, how it steamed in winter, how it smoked like a curse. And yet, he returns. Every night, every morning, not for coin, there is little of that, but for something older, something heavier, because someone must. The city does not speak of men like Mathieu. They are not written into the epics or the scrolls, but without them, the city collapses, drowns in its own filth. They are the keepers of the unspoken bargain. The price of civility, paid in silence and rot. One night, in the alley behind the abbey, Mathieu pauses. The dogs have gone ahead, but he stands still. From a crack in the stone, he hears it. A sound unlike the others. Not a weep, not a whisper. A chant. Low, ancient, words he does not understand, but feels in his marrow. Behind the abbey, a small door, half buried in moss. He pushes it open. A tunnel, older than the city itself. He steps in, torch raised. The walls sweat. Symbols, carved in the stone, crosses, knives, a serpent devouring itself. The sound grows clearer. It is not a voice. It is many. The tunnel bends and tightens. He follows, until he finds it, a circle of skulls, arranged around a pit. In the center, a bucket, like his, but older, iron, rusted, bound with leather and twine. It steams. From within, the same chant rises, wordless and pulsing. Mathieu does not run, he kneels. Something in him recognizes this place, not with the mind, but the bone. This is older than plague, older than scripture. This is the root of duty, where filth meets fire, where man becomes vessel. He reaches out, touches the bucket. It is cold, and then he sees, not with eyes, but with memory. A woman, barefoot, carrying a child through a burning village, a soldier, bleeding from the gut, whispering his mother's name. A baker, burying her daughter behind the ovens during the famine. Their waste, their grief, their breath, all flowed downward, into this place. Into him, he stumbles back. The chant fades, he exits the tunnel, and the morning has broken. The dogs wait, tails still. The bell tolls again, another shift, another descent. He shoulders his hook, returns to the streets. Something is different, though nothing has changed. He walks slower, sees deeper. A boy throws slop from a window, and it lands near his boot. Matthew does not flinch. He simply looks up, and for a moment, the boy meets his eyes. A flicker of recognition, or fear, or awe. The boy closes the shutter. Matthew walks on. A fog begins to roll in, soft and silver. It swallows the edges of the lane, turning stone to mist. The city blurs, the bell fades, and still he moves. Into the next alley, toward the next pit, because someone must. And beneath the waste, beneath the rot, beneath the silence, the city breathes. And it breathes through him. As fog settles and the rats retreat, another sound emerges, faint, rhythmic, not the chant this time, but the ring of metal upon metal. Somewhere deeper in the city, a forge stirs to life, and with it, the next chapter begins. Smoke curls upward from a heap of singed fur, and the morning air is tinged with the scent of iron and burning hide. In the shadow of the abbey wall, Elias works alone. The sun has not yet broken the mist, but the tannery stirs with a low hiss, liquid boiling, skins stretching, the breath of something half alive. His apron clings to him like a second skin, soaked in a bitter blend of urine, blood, and rot. His feet, raw and cracked, sink into the slurry as he walks. Ammonia bites deep, but he no longer flinches. Pain has become part of the rhythm. Around him, nailed hides sway in the breeze like wind-flattened specters. The flies, faithful and endless, descend with a humming hunger. They dance in circles around Elias's head, around the eye sockets of a goat's half-flayed skull, around the glinting edge of a curved, scraping blade. He has become a ghost of this place, a necessary evil, and the village prefers him hidden in shadow, in stink, in silence. They say no holy man could stand the tanner's trade, that demons nest in vats of lye and brine, that the devil walks barefoot beside Elias. Mothers clasp their children's faces when he passes. Men speak low if they must speak at all. The priest won't meet his eyes. But Elias remembers a time before the stink, before his name was cursed in public, and spat behind doors. He remembers laughter, warm bread, his brother's voice echoing through the rafters of their father's house. He remembers the crime too, the blood on the altar, the bishop's cold decree. Your kin has broken God's peace. One shall die, the other shall be marked. The gallows spared Elias's neck, but not his name. Guilt passed through blood like inheritance. One hanged, one exiled, and so he came here to this place of hides and ghosts. He learned to tan by failing. The hides split under his early hands. The leather warped or tore. He was beaten by the master tanner until he learned the rhythm. Scrape, soak, beat, dry. Now his hands move with memory, not thought. His fingers know the slickness of fat, the grain of skin, the scent of rot just before it turns. Each hide carries its own story, the stiffer ones, likely stolen from starving cattle, or stolen sheep. Others still warm when they arrive, tongues lolling, eyes blank with the shock of sudden death. He treats them all the same, with silence, with devotion. He talks to them when no one listens. I'm sorry, he whispers, dragging his blade in long, slow strokes. Forgive me, forgive them, forgive us. Sometimes, the vats echo back, a creak like a groan, a bubble like breath. Or perhaps it is only his mind, worn thin by solitude and fumes. He thinks of his brother Offgrid, though he never says his name aloud. The wedding bells begin to ring. Far beyond the tannery's wall, the village stirs with celebration. White cloth flutters from windows. Girls carry wild flowers. Musicians tune strings and test reeds. A bride is painted with chalk and rosewater, her hands trembling with joy or fear. It is hard to tell which. Elias watches from behind the hides. He sees the shoemaker passing, 2 pairs in hand, soft, elegant things, the leather pale and smooth. He wonders, did he tan that skin? Was it from the calf he scraped beneath last month's storm? He pictures the bride stepping across the threshold, feet wrapped in death, made beautiful. He almost smiles. The world does not smell him, but he is in its every step. A child's laughter breaks the moment. Elias startles. A boy, 5, maybe 6, has wandered too close to the tannery gates. His curls bounce as he stares, nose wrinkled. He points. "You're the skin man," he says. Elias does not reply. The boy's mother calls him sharply, grabs his wrist, pulls him away. She glares at Elias, mutters something under her breath, and is gone. He turns back to his work. The hides will not scrape themselves. Later, as dusk sinks and the bells fade, Elias walks to the stream beyond the abbey ruins. The water here is clearer. He strips to the waist, washes his arms, his face, the hardened grime from beneath his nails. For a moment, he looks like any man, not cursed, not stained. Above the raven's wheel, a single feather drifts down, landing near his foot. He does not pick it up. A quiet comes then, thick, sacred, the kind of silence that feels like someone holding their breath. And in that breathless stillness, he remembers something his brother once said, on the last night before the arrest. "Even the damned can kneel," he had whispered. "Even the worst of us can bow." The memory coils around Elias like a cloak. He kneels, not in prayer, not in shame, but in a strange reverence, to the land, to the water, to the blood that binds and breaks. As night closes in, Elias gathers his clothes. He walks barefoot back to the tannery. The vats wait, the skins hang. Tomorrow he will begin again, scrape, soak, beat, dry. But tonight, beneath a waxing moon and a sky veined with cloud, Elias lies beside the hides and dreams of hands he once held, of a name once spoken with love. Somewhere, a wolf howls, and far off, past the darkened village, drums begin to beat. A procession approaches, one not of marriage, but of war. The wind shifts, and the stench of blood rides with it. A bell tolls, not from a steeple of sanctity, but from the hand of a man soaked in soot. Its clang pierces the morning fog, like a knell dragged from the throat of the dying. The city gates groan open, not for war, not for pilgrims, but for a procession of shadows. The leech wardens emerge, robed in ash, their faces masked like crows, their breath ghosting through the cold. Behind them silence spreads like ink in water, doors close, windows shutter. Mothers press children to their chests, as if their arms could bar death itself. They are called plague hounds, death shepherds, crowmen, names spoken in whispers, not prayers. To themselves they are watchers of silence, of endings, of the slow flicker of breath fading to stillness. And behind them walks Sister Aldith, torch in hand, eyes dry from weeping too long ago. Her robe once white, now clings to her like damp cloth, heavy with the weight of rot, soot, and memory. Her steps do not echo. This is not a place for sound. Even the rats scamper silently across the cobbles, as if the air itself holds its breath. Aldith walks into the places no one else dares. The tenements smell of mildew and meat long spoiled. Behind doors marked in charcoal, families lie in a tangle of limbs and last prayers. Children curl against mothers, their mouths open in frozen wails. Fathers stiffen near hearths gone cold. The fever takes all, without rank, without mercy. She does not weep. She does not speak. Words have no currency here. Her voice is in gestures, the slow bow to the dead, the gentle nod to the living who must surrender them. One mother, skin pale as wax, offers her daughter's hand without a word. Aldith does not flinch. She has seen too many faces twist in grief, too many corpses wear the expression of unfinished stories. The leech wardens say she is not like them. She does not fear the contagion. She does not wear the bird mask or coat her tongue in vinegar. She walks barefaced, her breath mingling with the stench of sickness and the sweetness of burning meat. Perhaps she believes in nothing now, or perhaps in everything. She carries the torch for the body burners, guiding them like a silent lighthouse through a world drowned in plague. When the carts come, piled high with the veiled and the twisted, she marks each door with a smear of ash, a final benediction from a god who has long since turned away. And still, she walks. At night, the pyres bloom like red flowers in the dark. Flames lick at the sky, as if trying to scorch heaven for its silence. Aldith stands beside them, her face lit in flickers. She does not turn away. She watches each body burn. Once, she tried to remember their faces, to carry them in her mind like icons. But now they blur smoky ghosts drifting across the backs of her eyes. Only fragments remain, a ring too stubborn for the flame, a crucifix fused to bone, a braid of hair singed but intact. She keeps them in a pouch, not as relics, not as trophies, as proof that someone saw, that someone cared, that in the end, they were not entirely forgotten. The city does not speak her name. Children do not sing songs about her. No cathedral holds her image in stained glass. But among the plague hounds, she is a quiet legend. They say she once prayed like a nun, whispered rosaries in the dark, begged saints for mercy. Now she offers only silence, only presence. She does not cry for the dead. She becomes their cry. One evening, a boy too young for death lies curled at the base of a stairwell. His lips are cracked, his breath shallow, his eyes glazed. Aldith kneels. He looks at her, not with fear, but recognition, as if he sees in her not a stranger, but an end he can accept. She brushes a curl from his cheek. She does not speak. She does not need to. In that moment, she is mother, priest, and flame. When he dies, she closes his eyes. The torch never flickers. Around her, the city crumbles inwards. Markets empty, churches echo with sermons unheard. The rich flee to manors, thinking stone can shield them from fate. But death seeps in through cracks, rides the wind, clings to coin. Even the cathedral bells ring thinner now, their sound hollow, their comfort false. Aldith walks taller than most, not from pride, from purpose. She walks where others turn back. She carries what no one else will: names, faces, the unbearable stillness between heartbeats. She walks the fire, and in the ashes, something speaks, not in words, but in a truth too deep for language. It is not peace. It is not hope. It is the knowledge that someone remained. That when the world fled, one figure moved toward the smoke, toward the silence, and bore witness. Above, the bells toll again. This time softer, less certain. And below, in the kindling dark, the flames begin to rise. Aldith lifts her torch, and walks on. It begins with the groan of rusted hinges, and the metallic rattle of chain. The executioner's blade, though sharp, is quiet, but the gallows, the stocks, the oubliette, they speak. They creak, and breathe, and whisper of old blood. The square still sleeps, when Renaud sharpens his axe. The whetstone sings its cold song, siege, like breath drawn through broken teeth. Mist curls around his boots. The frost clings to the woodblock like death reluctant to let go. In the hush before judgment, only the steel speaks. He does not hum, he does not mutter. Emotion is a risk he cannot afford. To be the king's hand is to become less than man, more than symbol. A shape in black, a shadow in leather. In his coif and mantle, Renaud is no one, just the weight of justice made flesh. When he stands, the ravens stir on the rooftops, not because they fear him, because they know what comes next. He is not cruel, that is his secret. He is methodical, ritualistic, gentle, even, in his preparations. He lays out the tools with the care of a monk, tending relics. The rope is coiled just so. The oil is warmed. The blade is polished to a dull gleam. He washes the block between each use. He speaks softly to the condemned. Sometimes, they weep. Sometimes, they curse. Sometimes, they sing. Reno listens to them all. No one listens to him. The town fears him with the simplicity of children, afraid of thunder, and in truth, he is something like a storm. Unpredictable, not in his actions, but in the silence that follows them. Children dare each other to touch his coat. Wives cross themselves in his shadow. Priests offer absolution, without opening their eyes. He dines alone. He sleeps light. He dreams not of the dead, but of birds, wings slicing through air, lifting skyward, weightless. A long time ago, before the lines carved into his face, like weathered stone, a boy did not die cleanly. It had rained that morning. The crowd smelled of wet wool and sour bread. Reno's blade had faltered. Just once, the boy twitched, gurgled. Reno knelt beside the body. When the crowd dispersed, he dug a hole with his bare hands beneath the gallows, and laid the child to rest. A single wild flower, between the fingers, a knot carved into the bark of the hanging tree. It still grows there. Now every time he walks the path to the square, he stops. He touches that knot. A silent prayer, not for mercy, but for memory. Justice is a cold thing, but Reno is not cold, he is simply unseen. And in that invisibility lies a truth sharper than any blade. The town square awakens like a beast, stretching its limbs. Shutters creak open. Footsteps echo on stone. The scaffold waits, draped in fog. No ceremony, no fanfare. The condemned today is a thief, young, defiant, eyes blazing like stormlight. He spits at Reno's feet. You hide behind that mask. You're the coward. The boy snarls. Reno says nothing. He only adjusts the rope, tight, quick, kind. The crowd begins to gather, thick and loud. Murmurs rise like smoke. Men muttering justice. Women shielding children's eyes. Even as they peek between fingers, he hears them, but does not listen. Their judgment is noise. His is final. When the lever drops, the silence is absolute. No cheer, no jeer, just a soft thud, and the groan of wood. Later, he will clean the rope, wipe the wood, fold the black cloth that hides his face. There is no triumph in the task, no victory, only the weight of duty, worn like a second skin, in the stillness of his chambers. Stone walls, a single candle, the smell of iron. He removes the coif. Beneath it, a man, not young, not old, just weathered. Eyes like river stones, cold, but never empty. He eats his bread without salt, drinks water that tastes of tin. The birds outside flutter against the dusk sky, their wings painting streaks of silver in the dying light. He watches, always the birds. Sometimes he visits the cathedral, not for faith, but for silence. The stone saints do not flinch at his presence. The candles flicker, but do not flee. He kneels in the back pew, not praying, just breathing. A novice once dared to speak to him. "Do you feel anything?" she asked. He looked at her, slow and still. "Yes," he said. Every time, she did not speak to him again. The seasons turn. The blood dries. The names blur together. But Reno remembers the eyes, not the crimes, not the last words, just the eyes. A noble woman who trembled, but did not plead. A farmer who laughed as the rope tightened. A girl who whispered a lullaby, even as the axe rose. He carries them all, not as ghosts, but as echoes, soft, relentless echoes. There are whispers now, in the court, in the taverns, talk of war, talk of rebellion, talk of something stirring beyond the woods, beyond the walls. Justice, they say, will soon be sharpened on a different stone. The king grows nervous, and when kings grow nervous, their hands are the first to bleed. Reno feels the shift, not in orders or proclamations, but in the way the guards look at him, the way silence stretches longer after he enters a room. He sharpens his axe more often now, not because it dulls, but because the ritual calms his bones. The birds still come, but they circle higher. Tonight he walks the path alone. The moon is a cracked coin in the sky. Wind stirs the trees like old memories. He stops at the knot, touches it, just once, and for the first time in years he whispers, not a name, not a prayer, just a breath of sound, the executioner's voice, low, human. He walks on, disappearing into the mist that hugs the ground like smoke from a dying fire. Ahead lies another sentence, another face, and soon the blade will fall again. But for now, for one fragile moment, the night listens, and Renaud is not unseen. He is simply waiting. A swarm of bees hums near the edge of the woods, just beyond the manor's outer wall. Their soft buzzing is swallowed by the clash of iron. A blacksmith hammering out bent tools, a cook sharpening blades, a guard dropping his chainmail to the stone. But beneath it all, in a low hut that stinks of mildew and rot, the world narrows. Inside, beneath a thatched roof, sagging with age and webbing, a figure crouches near a hole in the earth. The hut has no windows, only a small opening in the roof, where smoke from an old tallow candle coils into the dusk like a ghost trying to escape. Thomas is already halfway down. He moves like someone familiar with descent, not only into earth, but into silence. He wears layers of torn cloth bound with frayed rope, caked with filth so thick, the original color has long been lost. His hands, calloused and cracked, grip the edge of the pit as he lowers himself, feet first, into the blackness that breathes beneath the stone. The candle clutched between his teeth flickers. Its flame dances in his reflection on the wet stone walls, slick with generations of decay, stories discarded with every empty plate, every forgotten bowl of gruel. He is alone, but not unaccompanied. The rats know him. They watch with red eyes, silent witnesses to a task few even acknowledge, and still, he sings. His voice is low and off-key, but steady, a thread of sound stretched across the dark. The ballad he hums is old, older than the walls of the keep above, passed down through mouths that now lie silent, a hymn to Saint Cadoc, the martyr, who walked barefoot through nettles. Thomas does not remember all the words, but the ones he does, he sings like prayer. Above, laughter echoes in the kitchens. The Duke is to host a feast for visiting lords. The spit turns slowly, roasting a boar fattened for months. Trays of sugared plums and fresh bread wait near the fire. Riches, indulgence, comfort piled high for those who do not see the pit. Below, in the bowels of the castle, Thomas shovels the rot of a season gone by, the waste of men too noble to piss beneath the trees. The air is thick, clinging to skin and lungs alike. The walls sweat with it, the floor shifts with it. But Thomas is unmoved. This is his kingdom. No one remembers when he began, perhaps not even he. There was once a time, faint, flickering, when his mother still lived in the cottage by the stream, when she would scrub his back with hot vinegar and hang sprigs of rosemary above the door to keep out the smell, when she kissed his forehead, after work, and told him he was good, that his hands did holy labor, removing what others would deny. She is gone now, buried without coin, without stone. Thomas did not weep. The pit has drained more than his tears, but he sings for her sometimes, when the night is quiet enough to remember. Today, his shovel strikes something hard, not bone, not stone. He pauses, breath held, gently. He kneels and brushes back the mire. The candle's light glints off gold, a ring, delicate, but strong. Its band is etched in a hand too fine for common folk, a name, worn by time, but still legible, Amora. He turns it over in his palm. The gold is dulled, but whole. He closes his hand around it, the warmth of his skin almost enough to make it feel alive again. Not the first treasure he's found. He keeps them in a small wooden box beneath the hut's floorboards. Not for selling. He would never trade such things. Each one is proof that even filth preserves fragments of beauty, that what is discarded is not always without worth. He tucks the ring into his coat and keeps digging. He does not speak of his treasures. They are his alone, not secrets of shame, but of silent defiance. The world above forgets. He remembers. The pit is nearly full now. He hauls buckets to the surface with slow, practiced rhythm. His arms tremble, but do not falter. The rope bites into his palms, now permanently ridged. The smell thickens in the cold air, drawing flies even before dawn. The castle's steward passes once, a cloth over his nose. He does not meet Thomas's eyes. He never does. Still he sings. By dusk, the pit breathes again. Hollowed, emptied, silent. Thomas leans on his shovel, sweat chilling across his back. His candle has burned low, a pool of wax beside his foot. He climbs out slowly, each rung of the ladder creaking with his weight. When he finally emerges, the sky has deepened into a bruised violet, stars beginning to pierce the veil of smoke from the kitchens. He does not go there. He walks past them, past the torches and laughter, and spilt wine, past the pages throwing bones to the dogs, past the banners embroidered with lions and lilies, to the edge of the woods. The bees are quiet now, nestled in their hive, but Thomas listens all the same, to the breeze in the grass, the hush of leaves, the distant cry of an owl. The world above, too, makes music, but softer, less sure of itself. He sits beneath an old elm, his hands in his lap. Above him, stars scatter across the sky like spilled ash, cold, silent, eternal. He wonders if anyone will ever know his name when he is gone, whether his wooden box will ever be found, whether someone might open it, hold the ring to the light, and whisper, "Amora." He hopes they do, but if not, he is not afraid. The pit did not hollow him, it shaped him. He does not speak as he walks back to his hut. He does not sing, but there is something in his step, slow, sure, that says he still remembers the warmth of rosemary, the curve of a mother's hand, the promise hidden in a piece of gold. The moon hangs low, casting pale light across the earth. In the distance, a bell tolls midnight, and beneath the castle floor, the pit waits, not empty, just resting, waiting for Thomas, or whoever comes next. A child coughs in the frost, the sound thin and rasping like brittle twigs, snapping beneath a traveler's boot. Her breath clouds in the morning air, brief ghosts in the dim light, wrapped in linen that clings damp to her skin. She shivers against the weight of the dawn. Beside her, a woman kneels. Her fingers are stained, not with dirt or paint, but with the deep rust of old blood. She hums, not a melody, but a drone, a tone to keep her hands steady. In her bowl, leeches twist in sluggish spirals through warm blood, drawn from someone earlier. This is Merelda, Bloodwife. The name spoken in fear, not affection. Children are warned to avoid her, yet when their bones break or fevers burn, their parents knock at her crooked door with trembling hands. Her hut crouches at the forest's edge, roof sagging like tired shoulders beneath the weight of snow and years. Inside, the air is dense, not with smoke alone, but with memory, with sorrow distilled into scent, ash, rosemary, garlic, the sweetness of decay beneath dried comfrey and yarrow. 1,000 cures, 1,000 failures. Her table holds both. The villagers say she has no heart, that the war took it, or the fever, that she stirred her son's ashes into her balms and called it medicine, that her husband's spirit lingers somewhere near the hearth, cursing her with silence. But none say it when she stands before them. Merelda does not threaten, she doesn't need to. Her stillness does it for her. The hush that follows her into a room, the way her eyes seem to already know the wound, the ache, the rot beneath the skin. They call her a witch when the moon is full, and the livestock fall ill. But when a child begins to seize, when an old man cannot rise, they forget the curses, and remember only the path to her door. She answers, always. She carries her grief like a satchel of iron, visible, heavy, dragging behind her in every step. Some healers wear white, and speak of purity, of light. Merelda wears the dark, because her work is not clean. She does not cleanse, she carries. A mother arrives at dusk, barefoot in the frost. The child in her arms is burning up, eyes rolled back, limbs twitching like fish out of water. The priest had blessed the child, no change. The baker's wife had rubbed goose grease on his chest, useless. The healer, the mother wept even as she approached, but she came. Merelda says nothing. She takes the boy, feels his pulse, racing, like a hunted animal. She sets him down on the pallet by the hearth, lays a cloth soaked in willow bark and vinegar across his brow, then the leeches, one by one, placed just so. The blood thickens around their mouths, the mother gasps, the boy moans. Merelda's fingers never shake. In the glow of the firelight, her face is all shadow, deep lines carved not by age alone, but by watching too much loss unfold, too slowly, under her care. She has buried more than she saved, and still she treats, still she listens. Outside, a storm rolls in across the valley, low and brooding. Wolves howl distantly from the woods. The wind whistles through the cracks in her walls, but inside the hut, time holds its breath. Later that night, Merelda sits alone beside the fire. The child sleeps, shallow but peaceful. The leeches are full, fat with life taken in order to give. She burns the bloody linen, not for cleanliness, but to appease whatever forces watch in silence. She speaks, softly, to the flames. Not a prayer, a memory. Your father bled for a flag, your brother for a fever. You bleed for a stranger's child, and still you stay. She presses a bone charm into the child's hand, closes his fingers gently. A gift, a ward, a hope. The mother will not remember what she said when she leaves, only that the boy lived, that Merelda's hut was warm when nothing else was, that the woman with the leeches and the herbs and the silent hands did what no one else could. Outside, in the dark, someone watches, a figure just beyond the trees, cloaked, waiting, not for healing, for judgment, because in every village, mercy walks a fine line with fear, and for some, a woman who knows too much is more dangerous than any plague. But Merelda does not fear flames. She's seen worse. She's walked through nights colder than this, carrying the weight of her son's bones in a pouch at her hip. She knows how fire cleanses, but also how it devours. Still she wakes the next morning, still she hums, still she answers, because some healers were never meant to be loved, they were meant to endure. And just beyond the frost-streaked window, the first church bell rings, a summons, not for the dying, but for Merelda. She stands, wipes her hands, and steps into the wind. The chapter ends in breathless stillness, one woman walking toward the gathered whispers of the faithful, the fearful, and the damned. What they do not understand is this: she has already walked through fire, now it is their turn to burn. Next, the priest tightens his grip on the crucifix, even as his hands tremble. In the square they are gathering kindling. The cathedral looms, cloaked in violet dusk. Its ancient bells toll vespers with a sorrow that seems older than stone. Smoke winds like a spirit from the cremation pit. Outside the north gate, a lazy bitter plume curling into the heavens. The wind is cold tonight, and it carries more than ash. Beneath the gaze of saints carved in crumbling limestone, Brother Corvin waits. His robe is coarse, patched, the color of wet earth. His hands are still, folded on his lap. Around him, shadows lengthen across the ground like reaching fingers. He is not welcome here, not within the church walls, nor among the living, but death makes strange invitations. The corpse lies before him, wrapped in burlap, feet bare. No name was given, no mourners came, only a warden's grunt and a nod, then silence. Corvin places the bread and ale with slow, deliberate grace. He does not pray aloud. He does not speak the rites. He listens, always listens, to the wind brushing the stone, to the memory in the silence, to the echo of his own breathing. Once he was a man of God. He wore the cassock. He gave sermons beneath stained glass. He believed, until the day he knelt in a confession box, and what he heard made the heavens reel. The abbot had whispered sins that curdled blood, crimes against flesh and soul alike, and Corvin, in a moment of holy fury, spoke. He broke the seal of silence. They called it betrayal. They called him mad. The church exiled him not with fire, but with absence. He vanished from the rolls, from the prayers, from memory. But death remembered. They call him when no one else dares to come, when plague burns through hovels too fast for priests, when a body is pulled from the mud and no one claims it. When sin sits too thick on the soul for holy men to stomach, he is summoned not for salvation, but for absorption, a sin-eater. Tonight, as the wind sobs low against the cathedral walls, Corvin begins the rite. He breaks the bread, the crust crumbles like dry bone. He drinks the ale, sour, sharp as guilt on the tongue. Then he places both beside the dead, and eats. They say the ritual pulls darkness from the soul of the departed, that each bite is a burden transferred, a sin digested. But Corvin knows better. He does not eat for them. He eats because no one else will. He eats because this world is littered with unburied pain. The candle flickers beside him. He watches the flame lean in the breeze. Its light plays across his face, lined, sunken, eyes rimmed with red, not from smoke. Sometimes he weeps, quietly, after they have gone. The tears fall into the soil unnoticed. They are not for the dead, they are for the weight. Behind the cremation fence, a child watches, bare feet in the frost-bitten grass, cheeks hollow, eyes wide, but not afraid. The child asks, "Do you take the pain too?" Corvin does not answer, but that night, he chews slower. His throat tightens as he swallows. He remembers the boy long after the body has turned to cinders, remembers the way innocence stared at him without fear, as if recognizing a man already half a ghost. To be a sin-eater is to carry what others cannot bear, to taste every sorrow, and never spit it out, to walk the veil's edge, again and again, and return empty-handed. His hands tremble now, after every ritual, not from age, but from accumulation. Sometimes, after the bell has tolled, and the smoke has drifted away, Corvin traces the stone with his fingertip, small crosses, carved crudely, one for each name, each sin, each memory. Some are nearly worn away, but he remembers them. A woman with a broken neck, her hair still braided. A man whose back bore lashes older than his scars. A baby wrapped in linen, its breath already gone by the time he arrived. He remembers them all, and yet, no one remembers him. The church does not speak his name. The villagers cross themselves when he passes. Children are told not to look at him too long, as if the sins might leap from his skin and stain their own. Still he returns. Each time they call he returns, cloaked in ash, smelling of smoke, face unreadable. He does not serve the church. He serves something older, more terrible, more tender, mercy. Tonight, the stars remain hidden. Clouds gather above the cathedral like a scab over heaven. Corvin finishes the ritual, and bows his head. The bread is gone, the ale drained, the corpse remains still. He stays a moment longer than he should. The cold seeps through his robes. He feels the familiar ache in his spine, not from kneeling, but from bearing, always bearing. In his chest a whisper stirs, a thought he dares not name. How many sins can one man carry before they become his own? He stands slowly, joints cracking in the silence. No one watches, no one marks his leaving. The gate creaks as he pushes it open. His steps crunch on gravel, fading into the mist. Behind him, the bells toll once more, and another body is brought forward. A girl, this time, thin as a shadow, her hair tangled with twigs, eyes shut, mouth slightly open, as if she tried to speak one last time. Corvin returns to his place, bows. The bread is set, the ale poured, the wind shifts, and somewhere, far off, a child sings a lullaby. No one taught them, a melody passed down from mouths too poor to write. He listens, because sometimes, silence contains the loudest prayers, and some meals are not for hunger, they are for mercy.